There's a lot you can learn online about Portland, but there's certain things that only the locals know, certain things that you would only know if you lived here, certain secrets that we're going to share with you today in this video.
Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem and Seth Marchant with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe you're not going to necessarily find out online, some of the things that you're not necessarily going to know until you actually move here. Well, you're in luck. We're going to talk about it in this video. And some of these things are going to be topics that might be a concern right now and you haven't moved here yet. Some of these things are going to be things that will get you acclimated a lot quicker when you move here. So we're going to talk about some of the things that, again, only people in Portland are really going to know, only people that really live here right now. And if this is your first time to the channel, or if you've been here before and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. And we've helped so many people relocate to Oregon and move to the Portland metro area. And as real estate professionals, we love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to Portland. So what do we got first?
So the first thing on our list, are we going to go there?
Yeah.
We're going to go there? Politics?
Yeah, I think we should.
Let's go there. So politics, that's one thing that it's kind of hard to glean online. It probably depends on what news channel you're watching. That might impact what your perception is of Portland. I think overall, kind of the perception, and it's been this way since I was a kid. Portland has a little bit more of a perception of being a town that has a lot of activism. See a lot of protesting here. So there is a certain stigma that goes along with Portland. And some of that, I think, is going to be accurate. Some of what you see on the news might be accurate, but some of it also is maybe not so accurate.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is going to come down to where you live. Of course, if you are closer to the city, if you are in more urban areas, I mean, you're going to get maybe a little bit of the, louder, political opinions and kind of see things more day to day. Generally, out in the suburbs, especially some of the suburbs that are a little bit further out, surrounding the Portland metro area, you're really not going to see much of it at all. So I think there's this big stereotype, again, regardless of what your opinion might be, that Portland, has this certain reputation for its political leanings, and that it's everywhere and it's always going to be in your face. And that's just not necessarily the case. I mean, of course, if you go out looking for it, you're going to be able to find it. I think there's going to be a lot of things that probably affirm your assumptions or fit those stereotypes to some degree. I mean, for sure, Portland and the Portland metro area, we're in a blue state, right? It's going to be a little bit more left-leaning than a lot of places. I think there's probably a lot more people in the middle than, most kind of news outlets or media outlets would lean on to.
Yeah.
And for sure, there's that small minority on one end of the spectrum that's a lot louder than everybody else. So you probably find that in a lot of places. That's going to be maybe a little more amplified in Portland, living in the area, but it's not going to be something that you're up against with, your day-to-day. Again, regardless of your political leanings, it's not something that, you're going to have to be kind of seeing and dealing with all the time.
Yeah, so I think things like political signs, policies that might be associated with one political side, things like protesting, you can certainly find it in some places in Portland. There are other places you can go where you won't see it at all, and you wouldn't really know that you're kind of in a place that has the stigma of really being political. So I think the one thing that people just really don't know is that it's not like that everywhere. If you don't want to be involved in politics, if you don't want to see it or hear about it, there's definitely pockets of Portland that you can find where that's going to be the case.
Totally. All right, let's move on from that one.
All right, what do we got next?
All right, next on the list is Portland has a lot of community events throughout the year. Not just downtown Portland, the surrounding suburbs have a lot of events too, in particular in the warmer months. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the winter too, but obviously when you're only limited to indoors, you can't host as big of events and things like that. So the city of Portland, all throughout the warmer months in the year, starting around May, really through September, has events down on the Waterfront Park. So you got the Rose Festival, I think is really the big first one that you have, and that's like the city fair. So you have kind of like the amusement park, you have the games, and the food and shops.
The Navy ships come here.
Yeah, the Navy ships come in. That's great. Live music and a lot of fun things to do. I think it's 3 different weekends, and I think it culminates in Memorial Day weekend is the last full weekend that they do it. A lot of people really enjoy that. Pretty much 50-50 chance it's going to be dumping rain during the Rose Festival. But going on throughout the year, you have the Bite of Portland. You have the Blues Festival, which is a really big music festival on the waterfront. It's been going on for like 25 years. Cinco de Mayo, you have the Pride Parade and Festival. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. So it's downtown Portland is really lively with events throughout the year.
Yeah, I think that's maybe one thing that people might not be aware of. And for us locals, if you do move to Portland and you do like to attend these events, we'll clue you in on some of the secret parking spots. Because parking can get really, really bad at some of these events, especially like going to a Blazer game. I think we've all gone to a Blazer game before where we circled around the arena, driving around looking for a parking spot like 20 times before you find something. So parking can be really, really bad, but there are a handful of kind of secret, maybe not secret spots, but spots that are better than others as far as price, as far as location, and as far as you usually want to consider your exit. So if you park in the wrong place at like the Rose Festival or like a Blazer game, it might take you an hour just to start to get out of Portland. So having a good parking spot that will allow you to beat the crowds is key too.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of events throughout the year, downtown Portland, a lot of venues in Portland and in the surrounding suburbs have music festivals. There's like music in the park, in a lot of the public parks. There's beer festivals. There's a lot of farmers markets. So there's a lot of lively things to do as far as kind of social outings and events that happen throughout the year. And a lot of people really like to engage in that. So, if you're new to the area or haven't spent a lot of time here, definitely something you want to start researching and plugging into right away.
Yeah, just because, we have a little bit of rain here and there doesn't mean we don't get outside and, do these types of events that a lot of other towns do.
No doubt.
Next on the list, there's a lot of different types of neighborhoods in Portland. If you haven't been here before, we have a mix of urban, we have suburban, and then we have rural, all kind of in a pretty small, like condensed place, like not spread out too far. Like 20, 30 minutes could take you through suburban, urban to rural. And not everybody that moves to Portland necessarily moves to like downtown Portland to a more urban area. A lot of people are moving to the suburbs, or some people are moving even a little bit farther out there. Again, it's not that far though to something a little bit more rural. Maybe if you want like some acreage, like an acre or two or more.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of options for people. I think a lot of people are a little bit surprised with the options that you can get, and everything is in relatively close proximity, like Seth was saying, because we have a really strict urban growth boundary. So within maybe a 5-mile radius of Portland, downtown Portland, you have 100-plus-year-old homes, up to a lot of mid-century modern, and then moving out from there, you started to get into like some 80s and 90s development. You get newer and newer communities all the way out to this urban growth boundary where in any direction around Portland, if you just keep driving, you'll be in a suburb and then you'll just be out in the country, just like that. So there's some bedroom communities surrounding this urban growth boundary too, like Forest Grove and Newburgh and Canby, and some towns that are kind of standalone outside of the urban growth boundary, but still relatively quick getting into the city.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot of options. I would say too, there's a lot of different topography in the Portland metro area. So we have a lot of hills and a lot of elevation. It's areas that have really steep hills. We have some areas that have more like rolling hills. We have valleys where it's just a little more sprawled. That's where you get stuff that's a little more like on a grid. But a lot of areas with even a little bit of elevation change, the roads are a little bit windy. There's a little more character to it. And I think people really enjoy that.
Yeah. And if you want to watch a little bit more on the differences between urban, suburban, and rural, we actually have a video dedicated directly to that. you can click that link right up there to watch that.
All right, next, if you're moving to Portland from a small town or a big city, you probably don't fully understand how bad the traffic is here. So like if you're moving from LA, of course you have bad traffic. Everybody knows that. But the expectation moving to Portland might be that the traffic is going to be way better. Or if you're moving from like a mid-sized town, small town, and you haven't spent a lot of time in traffic, if you're commuting regularly, well, I think you're in for a big surprise there too. So yeah, Portland has some of the worst traffic in the country. Definitely in the, top 10, top 15 when you look at a lot of lists that rank these things.
Yeah.
But there's ways to get around it too.
Yeah, kind of going back to what we were talking about just a moment ago, rural being so close by and being so close into the city, you do have a lot of back roads that you can take to get places. So you can actually avoid traffic in a lot of places too. That's one thing that sometimes people won't necessarily know or won't learn until after they live here for a while. And another thing you might need to get used to, like Paul said, traffic is we have some of the worst traffic in the country. Our drivers probably are not the best drivers here either. I'm not sure why that is. So you might need to get used to the drivers.
I'm a great driver.
Well. We are all great drivers here in Oregon. And then we also have tolls coming too. So that's going to be something that's going to be new for 2023, or maybe they're going to be implemented soon. It might not be this year, maybe 2024, but that's also really going to change the dynamic of the traffic as well. It might create some more traffic in some places, particularly I-5, might create some less traffic in some places where they're going to implement those tolls and people are going to try and avoid those tolls. So traffic is going to be really kind of changing and dynamic. It's going to be bad, but there are some places where you can go to kind of avoid the traffic. And if you're thinking about moving here, you can get in touch with us and we'll show you where those secret spots are.
Absolutely. Speaking of secret spots, next on the list, of course, anybody moving to the Portland metro area, anybody moving to the Pacific Northwest knows that there's a lot of great places to get out and explore, see nature, go hiking. And of course, in Portland, there's a ton of stuff in close proximity. So, the assumption is probably that a lot of these spots are going to be really overrun with people and crowded. And to some degree, I mean, that really is the case, right? A lot of the hot spots in the gorge, up around Mount Hood, out toward the coast, down south, Willamette, Mount Hood National Forest. A lot of places can get really crowded, but I would say it's the areas that are most accessible, that are probably the easiest to hike, kind of easiest terrain, and just the closest places overall in proximity are going to be the busiest. But there are some secret spots as well.
Yeah, I think the Instagram effect definitely had an impact on places like Portland. Once Instagram started, everybody wants to take that pretty, perfect, Instagram-esque picture. So that created a lot more congestion and people going like on our hiking trails and our waterfalls and the places that people like to go. But with that being said, there are still a ton of places around Portland where you can find very few, sometimes no people. I'll just give you a pro tip right now. If you're coming to Portland, you've never been here before and you want to go visit something, something that Portland's known for, you're probably going to see Multnomah Falls, or that's probably going to come up on your list. Pro tip, if you're going to go to Multnomah Falls, just go another mile up the road. You'll find the exact same thing with about a tenth of the people. There won't be a gift shop, but waterfalls and the hiking, all the same thing, is just a mile up the road. Nobody ever just drives that extra mile. So everybody's just always at Multnomah Falls. There's a lot of spots like that around the Portland metro area where people are just going to the really popular spots. They don't go like that little extra step, that little extra mile. And if you do that, you can find a lot of places where there really isn't that many people. A lot of secret, really great spots there that aren't congested yet. All
right, next on the list, Portland, of course, is really well known for its food scene. Portland was voted the best foodie city in the country. We have a ton of great restaurants. Really, really nice restaurants, even a lot of, great kind of casual restaurants. In fact, most of, the really great restaurants that are highly rated that, the tourists are definitely going to go to are really just kind of regular places, as far as prices and, they're not fancy sit down, dimly lit places. But, there's probably an assumption, when you hear about Portland, that all of the good restaurants are going to be in the city. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, and it might have been true at one point, but what we've seen, especially over the last few years, is a lot of those restaurants either moving out of the city into the suburbs or opening up multiple locations, like opening up a second or a third location. So don't necessarily need to go to like the Pearl District or the Alphabet District or North Portland or Southeast Portland, where like the food carts are. You don't need that. That's kind of a smaller area. There's a lot of places where some of the good restaurants have expanded out. So you don't need to travel to Portland necessarily, or a specific place in Portland, just to find some of that food that you read about so much online.
Yeah. I mean, downtown Beaverton, downtown Oregon City. There's a lot of places where some of the best restaurants in Portland are opening other locations, and a lot of these suburbs too have some great restaurants on their own. That don't have other
that's true.
Locations in the city. So there's great food everywhere at a pretty high volume, of course. In a lot of the neighborhoods that Seth was talking about, in a lot of Portland proper, in some of these more urban settings, you're going to see a much higher concentration of all the best restaurants, bars, breweries, coffee shops, all of that stuff. But it is starting to expand out into the suburbs a little bit. And I think a lot of people that live in the suburbs or are planning to move to the suburbs potentially really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think most of the people that live in the suburbs, at least pre-COVID, when it was more the norm to do so, it wouldn't be uncommon to go downtown, just for a particular restaurant. People don't have to do that as much anymore because the restaurants are expanding out. So don't have to go to one place to find the good food. All right, now last on the list is...
It's not necessarily the rain that bothers everybody. It's the combination of wind, rain, and cold. So you get all of these three things pretty often, really from late fall kind of through early spring in particular, and for sure in the winter, where it's not just raining, it's not just a little breezy, but it's also mid 30s to low 40s, and the wind is blowing, you got, dumping rain, it can be pretty miserable.
Yeah, I think to be frank about it, that's, a lot of people say that it's the rain, the overcast, that's the worst thing about Portland, about living here. It's not really the rain really isn't that bad. It's not that bad until it's cold and windy. Then you got something to really complain about. Yeah,
because we'll get rainy days pretty much into July. The summers are definitely, that's the driest part of the year. No surprise there. July, August, September, that's going to be majority sunshine, beautiful, great summers around here. But you get in, probably past Labor Day, right around Labor Day into October, and you can start getting some rain, and kind of that mid to late spring as well. You can definitely get some rain, but it might be 55 to 65 degrees, and overall otherwise kind of calm weather, just a little bit of drizzle here and there, and it's really not that bad.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't think it bothers anybody, not even the people coming here. Some people enjoy it, but yeah, when it's 35 and 40 and windy and rainy, that's tough to get out in.
Yeah, a lot of people tough out the weather for sure, and I have a lot of friends that are really into golf, and the rule for them is you can have 2 of the 3, but not 3. So if you got a tee time, or if you're thinking about booking a tee time and you got wind, rain, and cold, not going to happen. But if it's a little windy and a little cold, you can put up with it. If it's a little cold and a little bit of rain but not wind, fine.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people around Portland that live in this part of the country, kind of stick to that, just, planning when they're planning to go out and maybe take a walk, or just kind of be outside for an extended period of time. If it's got all of those elements, probably staying inside.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. And that's not too common, not too often.
You become,
it's all the time.
But you become acclimated.
Yeah. Well, I hope that helps you to get a better feel for what it's like to live in Portland, and maybe some of the things that you might not be able to read online, or some things that you just wouldn't know unless you've lived here for a long time. And if you have more questions about moving here, if you're somebody that's thinking about taking the next steps, you can call us, text us, email us, or click the link below in the description if you want to schedule a Zoom call with us. And if this video helped you, give us a thumbs up. It lets us know we're doing a good job. Feel free to comment below with questions or just to weigh in. And if you want to see more videos like this, if you made it to the end of this video, definitely hit the subscribe button and hit the bell too. That way you'll be notified every week when we drop a new video. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Talk to you later.